Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how I constructed a laser scaler for my QYSEA FIFISH V6 underwater ROV. You can see I've got a nice picture of that ROV here. Laser scalers can be really useful to add to your ROV tool belt, and what they can do is help you really gain a sort of perspective on the scale of what you're looking at underwater. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through each one of these parts just to give you a sense of kind of the overall cost and what the purpose is. I'll start from the right here. I've got this tripod mounting bracket from Amazon for about $20. The key thing here is that it has a center hole, and you'll see why that's important in a little bit. But it also has these tracks here, and we're going to mount our lasers to these tracks. And I like the track model here because it actually allows you to change the width of your lasers. So if you're looking at something a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, you can work to accommodate that by just moving your lasers closer together. We also have the actual lasers themselves. Now we're looking at lasers under the brand Orchid Torch, and I purchased these from an online shop called tradein.com. They actually have a green light, which is great for underwater use because we all know that red light attenuates much more quickly than green lights. So if you're looking to use these lasers in water, then you're going to want to use something that is going to come across a little bit stronger underwater. So I've got two of those, and each of them have been preloaded with a battery. And you can see to operate them, you just turn the head to the right, and they work actually quite well. They're very strong, and if you want to turn them off, you just loosen up the head. We also have these two mounting screws here. These came with the mounting bracket, although I did add these rubber faucet washers to each one of them, and that was just to take a little bit of the play out of that screw. We also have, moving to the left here, this mounting disc. This is going to look familiar to those of you who already own a V6 model of the FIFISH ROV, because basically I just wanted to replicate the existing disc that sits on the bottom, the underside of the ROV. And the reason why I wanted to replicate that rather than drilling through the factory part is because I wanted to keep my ROV intact. I'm not sure if that would void the warranty if you drilled a hole in it or not, but basically I just didn't want to modify the original part. You can see down here we've got some more of those kind of rubber washers. They go on faucets, and you can find them in most hardware stores under the plumbing aisle. I think I bought 6 of them for maybe $3, so about 50 cents a piece. I also have these GoPro tripod mounts, and these will attach to the top side, or I guess the underside of the mounting bracket. Lastly, here we have these GoPro tube mounts. I purchased these online. If you just do a quick Google search for GoPro tube mount, I'm sure you'll find the company. I think these were, I want to say $30 or $40 per mounting bracket, so they're a little bit steep, but they're fit for purpose and they work really, really well. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do before we actually bring the ROV in frame here is talk about this disc mount. I constructed this disc mount out of a piece of plastic tubing, the end cap for that tubing, and I cut it down to replicate that little disc on the back side of the ROV. You can see that they look quite similar. The main difference being that this on the white one, the one that I built, has a center hole drilled through it. On the underside, they're also fairly similar. Mine's a little messier. It wasn't machine shopped. So what we want to do is we want to start by threading that bolt through the underside at the top of that. And we want to take one of these other rubber washers and sort of thread it on there. You could probably get away without using the rubber washers. The reason why I used them was because I noticed that without them, there was a little bit of movement in some of the components after they were installed. So I find the rubber washers add a little bit of friction that helps to eliminate that movement. Okay, now that that's attached, I'm going to bring the ROV over and we're going to take a closer look at that. This is the original cap, and this is how it's installed. I'm going to pop that out of there. We're going to take the cap that we built and just place it in there. Next, we're going to take some of the screws that came with the ROV, and it came with a number of spare screws that have the correct length and thread count. Okay, finger tight. You could lift this ROV up by that center bolt. Next, what we're going to want to do is we're going to take our tripod mount and just set it on top there. So we're just going to thread that on. Get that one. Next, we're going to take another one of those rubber washers and we're going to thread it on. Lastly, we're going to take, under here I've got one of those, I think it's called a butterfly bolt, butterfly nut, sorry. We'll just screw that on. And we want to take those mounting screws that came with this bracket and we just want to screw them up. So the next part is we're going to attach these GoPro tripod mounts to the threaded side of these mount screws. We're going to do that on both so that we have something to attach the tube mount to. Perfect, so both of those are installed snugly. Next we're going to take our tube mounts and we're going to set them in there, and we'll take one of these tightening screws and just attach that to the mount so it's not going anywhere. Now that that's finger tightened, we're going to take our lasers and we're going to just open that up and place that inside. Okay, great. Now that the lasers are on there, let's turn them on. There we go, that's on. We're going to level them and then we're going to tighten these as tight as we can get it with our fingers. Another thing to mention is you want to make sure that your laser pointers are as parallel to one another as possible. If they're not parallel, then what you have is two lasers that may be pointing apart or pointing towards each other. And as a result, you're not going to have an accurate measure or scale on whatever it is you're looking at. Now that we have the laser scaler attached to our ROV, we're going to take this thing out to one of our local spots and see how it works underwater.